Hello everybody and welcome to the business podcast at Imperial College London. I am your host Amin Siala and today my guest is Christina Petersen from LYS Technologies. There is a live campaign on Kickstarter if you're listening to this on the day of the recording or the week of the recording, and it's been so successful. Not only did it reach its target, but Christina's even created a new target because you guys have done so well. Congratulations, Christina.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you are an Imperial graduate.
Yeah,
and
I am.
You are now fully focused on LYS.
Yes, full time.
What's LYS?
LYS Technologies is... Or do you want to hear about the company or the product?
I think let's start with the product.
Yeah, so the product is a wearable light tracking device and an app that can help users track their circadian rhythm and track what type of light they receive in their everyday environments and understand how the light affects them and stay healthy.
Yeah. So it tracks light.
It tracks light.
Right.
Yeah.
And why should somebody want to wear a device that tracks light?
Yeah, it's funny you
Does
ask.
light have an effect?
It has a great effect on our health and well-being. So actually, as it is now, people are mostly focused on diet and exercise. But lately, in science, they discovered that light is one of the main influencing factors on our circadian rhythm and our sleep-wake cycle.
Circadian rhythm.
Yeah, circadian
Do you want to
rhythm.
give our listeners the definition, or at least what circadian rhythm is?
Yeah, sure. So circadian rhythm is about 24 hours that all living organisms live their lives around, so down to bacteria, and humans have them as well. And basically, they are determined by inputs from the external environment. And light is one of the main influencing factors. So I think human has from 23.7 to 24.7 hours of circadian rhythm. So it depends if you're a morning type or an evening type.
What type are you?
I'm an evening type, definitely.
Are you?
Yeah.
Really? So this is too early for you.
We should have done this really late.
Yeah, no, luckily I'm a morning type actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Morning and coffee is the best combination going.
Yeah.
But,
cool, yeah. So, actually in 91 at Oxford Circadian Rhythm Neuroscience Department, they located these photoreceptors in the back of the retina.
Okay.
And they are non-visual photoreceptive cells. And they discovered that these cells, they just take in light and then they explain, your internal system, your biological processes, timing. So light is the main time giver or side giver as they call it. Yeah. And one of the main things they found was that blue light, it directly depresses our melatonin production, which is the natural sleeping medicine that we produce in our brain. Yep. So basically we're meant to get the light that you get from nature. So during the day you need high intensity white light, and then during the evening you need more warm dim light.
So white light in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning. And
the daytime.
Daytime,
Then in the evening, it should be...
dim, warm.
Dim/warm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what they found is that you need at least 1,500 to stimulate the brain.
1,500
lux, sorry,
okay.
Yeah. So that's the intensity.
Yep.
In most offices...
That's an SI unit, isn't it? Standard index unit. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, from science. And in most offices, they receive... they have between 300 to 600 lux, so it's way below. On a cloudy day, you get 10,000 lux. On a sunny, full sun, it's 100,000 lux.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Throwing a lot of numbers my way. Let's just take a step back.
Yeah, sure.
So, what we want to understand is before you get into the details is light and the importance of light for our health. Now, you said earlier that most people associate being healthy with eating well and drinking well and exercising, but light isn't the first thing that comes to my mind, at least.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure not a lot of people think about that, which is why I think this is exciting, by the way. And you're saying that the circadian rhythm, which is a natural day cycle for our sleep, is used to having a certain type of light in the morning and then a certain type of light in the evening.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, this has been going for, millions of years in theory. Humans have been used to receiving light in the morning, and then when it's night, they sleep. But now, because we live in such an artificial world, we have got that mixed. Yeah, and what effect does that have on us?
Yeah, so it's exactly how you say it. We actually created to be in sync with nature. Yeah. We created to stay outside during daytime hours and get the light from the sun. And then at night, we're meant to get dim, warm light. And actually, it's really I find particularly very interesting is that now in modern urban societies, we spend so much time indoors, and actually, it wasn't really a problem before the LEDs too much because the incandescent light bulb is really warm, dim.
Okay.
So
it is, yeah. The filament light bulb.
Yeah.
The one that's slowly being banned across the world now. Yeah, because it's extremely inefficient. It's a massive waste of electricity. Unfortunately, the LED is...
Sustainability-wise, it's not good, but for our health, it was...
okay.
Yeah, so actually, that's quite dim, warm light.
Yep.
So if you have that in your home, it's quite okay at night. But now people start to install energy-efficient light and LEDs, and you get blue-white light from your phones, from your screens, all that, which is very unnatural for us to get this kind of blue-white light, which is actually daylight at night. So what happens is that we disrupt our circadian rhythm.
Okay.
It's a bit like when you get jet lag. So you know how it feels when light disrupts your rhythm. That's how it feels, like very uncomfortable, and it's just happening every day. They call it social jet lag. So
social jet lag.
Yeah. So it happens just in a small, small scale every day in urban environments, because you solely get the wrong light at the wrong time of the day.
Right. So there is a night shift in the iPhone.
Yeah.
Now, is that good, or is that just a fad?
I mean, it's good. Yeah. They kind of realized as well that they were part of the problem.
Huge part of the problem.
Because people look at their phones just before going to bed. And so they install that night shift that the light becomes more dim 2 to 3 hours before they go to bed.
It becomes warmer.
Yeah,
okay.
Warmer and dimmer, yeah.
Right.
So, but I mean, it'll be interesting actually to really see if there's some blue wavelengths in the light still. Because the light is composed of very many different wavelengths.
Okay.
And it's the 480 nanometers that is actually, it's the peak sensitivity for our circadian system.
When you say, what do you mean by that, sensitivity? So 480 nanometers wavelength light is peak sensitivity for our circadian rhythm. What does that mean?
So that's what actually trigger the circadian system.
Okay.
And so then you don't produce melatonin when you get 480.
Right.
That's the blue part of the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So because what I've got here is that again, I did some research last night.
Yeah, cool.
Prepared. So when an organism is exposed to a light stimulus, the hormone melatonin is suppressed or prevented from being secreted by the pineal gland.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what happens when you get blue light.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's suppressed. It doesn't. Okay.
I mean, it's very logical. Like during the day, you do not need any melatonin because you want to stay awake and you want to be energized. And during the night, you need melatonin to sleep.
Yeah.
So basically, our bodies just synchronize with the nature, and then when you get daylight, which is very blue-white light, high intensity, then you do not produce melatonin, but then at night, you start producing it when you get dim light. Okay. But then we're getting the opposite in modern urban society. Yeah. So during the day, we get dim light. In most offices, it's like 300 lux, and you probably get, like in here, it's terrible as well,
Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the future podcast episodes now. Like, carry on. Thanks for the good news.
It's very unhealthy for you.
Should definitely be inviting you again, Christina.
You just need to install like circadian rhythm lighting in here.
Does that exist?
Yes, actually, it does. Yeah. So actually, in Denmark, where I'm from, a few hospitals already installed that. So I think 5 hospitals installed
in Denmark.
Yeah.
So Denmark, they've installed circadian rhythm lights.
Yeah, lighting.
And what do those do?
So they change the color and intensity throughout the day. So it follows the natural circadian rhythm, and it's both for the patients but also for the people who works there. So am
I right in assuming that Denmark is the leader in sort of studying circadian rhythm, or amongst us? I've not heard anywhere else about this.
So actually, the Nobel Prize this year was given in medicine given to research in relation to circadian rhythms, and that was Americans.
Okay.
I mean, America is quite upfront with the studies in circadian rhythms, and of course Oxford Circadian Rhythm Neuroscience Department with Professor Russell Foster, who's like my hero. He was part of the research group that located these third-class photoreceptor cells.
So this is recent. They did not know about those photoreceptors beforehand.
So it's 91.
91, relatively recent.
So actually, they thought that we evolved from circadian rhythms, humans, and maybe because we were quite good at getting used to dim light, and you know that from yourself, like when you're in a dark room, your eyes starts to kind of get used to the darkness, and you can see a little bit. Yep. And I think because
your pupils dilate, right? And then they allow more light in so you can see things more.
Yeah, but also like the eyes have two functions. So one is the visual, of course, like the main, what we used to think is the main function of the eye, so the visual system. But then you have the non-visual system, which is just light information for your biological process.
Non-visual, okay.
Yeah, so you call the third class photoreceptive cells, the retinal ganglion cells.
Okay.
You call them non-visual, so they have nothing to do with vision, but they just have something to do with the circadian system.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's why, because the eyes is also used for vision, then it's really difficult to actually judge whether this light is healthy for you or not, because you get used to the light. Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes, like for me at least, I can feel like when it's night and I get really blue, like for example in the tube, I feel that is not healthy for me, that light at this time of day. And but I think you have to, that's kind of what we do with LYS.
Hold on, before you get into LYS, so when you say that's not healthy, now how bad is this? What are the effects of this?
Yeah,
I agree scientifically for sure, circadian rhythm, we need to abide by it, because it's been a system we've evolved through for probably millions of years. And now it's a cocktail of lights that are coming that are coming to our eyes, our photoreceptors during the day. What effects does this have on us?
Yeah, so like there's short-term health issues. So of course sleep with your melatonin levels, you know, and then energy levels, and then you start drinking coffee, eating sugar instead because you're losing energy. And then actually they done quite a lot of so this is quite in the beginning of all the studies and understanding, you know, the human circadian system and how it affects us. But actually at Harvard they did some studies with nurses that works night shifts because they get blue white light at hospitals during the whole night. And they found that these nurses, I think they did like studies throughout 5 years, and they had a control group and then an experimental group, and the control group was not working night shifts. And they found that they had like 50% higher incidence of breast cancer.
Really?
And
50% higher?
And, and, you know, of course, it could be other things as well, but the melatonin levels, they think that's associated. And they have found links to cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. So actually, what they're trying to figure out right now is like, is this kind of like central to all of the modern lifestyle illnesses in, you know, in modern environments that we can't really answer, you know, some of these illnesses that we find really, so maybe...
We find really mysterious. There's so much stuff that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Cancer research.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many unknowns. I mean, could light be one? It's probably the ones that you least suspect that could be the ones that actually are the major reason.
Yeah, but it's also quite logical if you think about it, right? It's just so unnatural, like how we live inside. Yeah. We live like modern cave people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so actually we spend more time indoors than the cave people did.
So, really?
Yeah. So
that has been statistically, scientifically studied.
Yeah, I heard Russell Foster saying that once so in one of his lectures that I went to. Yeah, so it's quite interesting.
No, it really is true though. I mean, just walk through London.
Yeah.
What do you see? All these office blocks with people that work there, 8-10 hours a day.
Yes.
Then it's just the short trip back home, and then they're going to be home for the rest of the day. Unless they're shopping or going out maybe once over the weekend, they're indoors in the cave.
Unless you cycle to work or something. Yeah.
That's a good.
You're a smoker.
I guess so. There's pros and cons to being a smoker. It's very social. A very social bad habit. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
You're an avid cyclist. Am I right?
Yes, of course. I'm dating.
This is good. No, you know what I like is that obviously we will be talking about LYS Technologies as a whole. I really feel like you embody the product that you've developed, created, designed, and now successfully managed to promote. It's brilliant, you know.
Thank you.
And I think this is what people like. You know, people want to. They don't just want to buy products. They want to feel like they are buying the story behind it, right? And guess this is a great cue for what's the story behind LYS? Yeah.
So actually I studied the Innovation Design Engineering course here at Imperial College and the RCA, so it's a double master degree. And you get
RCA is
the Royal College of Art.
Okay, in London.
Yeah, in London. So that's actually the best design school in the whole world.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have a background in design, so I came to London to study there, and then I saw this course, and I was like, "That's so cool!
That's incredible! I didn't hear about this course."
I was surprised that you didn't know about the course, because I think, you should just definitely get more people on board in the podcast, because it's such cool people coming out of there, like really diverse people.
And those people, do they come through RCA or do they go directly to Imperial? I mean, how does this joint master's program work?
Yeah, so it's 2 years, and you get an MA from RCA, and then you get an MSc from Imperial College.
Okay.
And it's just joint, like, you kind of like, right here there's a little church,
Yeah.
and you can walk through that street, and
Yeah.
then it takes like 5 minutes going from RCA to Imperial College. And you
Really?
can like, oh, we have a lecture at Imperial College, we have
Yeah.
a presentation at RCA, so just go forth
And
and
what
back.
about the workload? I mean, if it's an MA and
It's
MSc,
so
there
lot.
must be a lot happening there.
It's like, that's your life for
Yeah.
2 years,
Yeah.
nothing else.
Is it mixed evenly? So the MA and the MSc are mixed between the three, or is it the first year's MA, then it's MSc?
No, it's mixed, yeah.
Excellent.
You
okay.
don't really feel the course. It feels like, yeah, it's just one.
You know, I really like the idea of this combination because what we have nowadays is there's so much that people are going into narrow fields. So they're saying, I'm a designer, that's it, or I'm a physician, that's it. Whereas this kind of combines the two,
Yeah,
you know, engineering and design.
yeah. And people come from a diverse field of, you know, expertise and studies. Like
Yeah.
people, they've been doing journalism, some are engineers, some are like designers, some are, you know, doing something completely different.
How technical is it? Because you came from a design background.
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't soldering any...
I was actually, just because I've always been interested in technical, like I always tried to implement like technical things in my designs. So I kind of like took you know, these kind of Christmas light chains apart and soldered them together and put them on clothes and like kind of made all sorts of like smart clothing, just for fun. But so I knew it just before, but not to that extent.
Right,
of course,
okay. But you knew the basics, which are in theory sufficient.
I mean, basics, I don't know, I just taught myself something that I thought was useful for my project.
Okay,
Yeah.
so during your double masters,
Yeah.
okay, what happened then?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Like, so the first year you have 14 projects in 1 year, and it's everything from build a robot to build a chair,
14 projects per person.
Yeah.
Okay, build a robot, did he say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Build a chair, you know, like, then we have collaborations with companies like Jaguar Land Rover, Intel, Panorica. Like, we had to make a experimental experience for pre-bottled cocktails.
So go again. Experiential.
Yeah, experimental. So like, how do you say, like like retail experience for pre-bottled cocktails. So they kind of wanted us to create an experience for users to taste cocktails without tasting it, kind of thing, like experiencing.
Okay, that makes sense. So they want to trial out the cocktails without in a setting that's, guess, not the real thing.
So actually what we did, it was it's a retail experience. So what we did was we collaborated actually with the Royal College of Music, which is right here as well.
I love it. It's RCA, Royal College of Music, Imperial.
Yeah, RCM. Composer, and then we divided cocktails is a bit like listening to music, so it puts you into a certain mood. It's a combination of different things, and you know, you can also you can either drink it to put you into a certain mood, or you can make it put you into a certain mood, like music, right? And then we thought, okay, so cocktails is divided into bitter, sour, sweet, what else? Tart, and you like these 5 different. Now I can't remember in particular, but then we asked the composer to compose sounds for each of the each of these 5 components, and then we added a color to that as well, and then we used something called leap motion. So it's where you can move your hands.
Leap motion. Yeah. Oh, that's the technology where it detects your movement.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then you could control the sound so you're kind of mixing the cocktail, but you're also mixing the music. So you're experiencing the music, but it's also the cocktail. And then when you find the music that you really like, you decide on that cocktail, and then you buy the cocktail. So we kind of like mixed music to the specific. So that's a type of, you know, example of a project we did, a 2 weeks project.
That's just 1 out of 14 in 2 weeks as well. You said.
And then you have to come up with the concept. You have to make it. You may have to make a functional prototype, and then you have to present it. And then often you have like 7 people. So you present it for the whole course with like 40 people, and then you have 7, like some people from the company that you're working with, some professors, and like the head of programs, and they all give you feedback on your project.
That's incredible. And when did you
start LYS?
Yes. I mean, were you always interested in circadian rhythm? Is this something you knew about beforehand?
No, actually. So I think coming from Denmark, you are quite aware of the light, because in the summer I I think 2 hours of darkness, and then in the winter it's the opposite. So you really feel the difference in mood.
Yeah.
I guess it's the same here with winter depression and these kind of things.
Because it's dark.
Yeah, it's just dark, and and then in the summer it's also quite difficult sometimes to sleep because there's no darkness.
Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated by light,
Okay.
and we have so much water as well, and like that has a specific input, and but then
The water, sorry, so that was interesting.
Yeah, the sea. Sorry, we have so much seaside in Denmark, and then the light is reflected, and there's just a specific color to the light when you look over the sea compared to like if you look over a city.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, that's a bit more like emotional. But
well, you never know. I mean, you think it's emotional.
Yeah.
It definitely has an effect. There's a difference when you see a nice blue sea.
Yeah,
it feels great.
Yeah.
You know that the longest life expectancy in the world is in a village in Italy.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
I can imagine.
It's the whole ecosystem. It's the light. It's the circadian rhythm that's being met properly. It's the simple life.
Yeah.
So I think there's science behind everything.
Definitely, yeah. So on the first year at here at IDE.
IDE is the name of the course.
Innovation Design Engineering. Yeah. So it's called IDE.
Yep.
We did a collaboration with Intel. So it was 2 weeks, and they asked us to solve a problem in future urban environments. And so basically I was just sitting after the brief at RCA. We have a studio space there. Everyone have each a desk.
Okay.
And I was sitting under these fluorescent light tubes, that we have there, and they're really blue-white.
Yep.
And I'm not a person who really gets headaches or anything, but I really felt that this was affecting me. I was like, I actually, first of all, it's really uncomfortable, and I'm shattering from my paper. The way the light is kind of like illuminating me is really bad, and the light feels uncomfortable.
Okay.
And so I was just like, actually, maybe this is something, because, future and urban environments and artificial light.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wasn't aware of all the studies and everything. So I just delved into the studies, and then I found Professor Russell Foster, and I got so fascinated about everything he discovered. And invited my boyfriend to a talk about circadian rhythms, and like one of his talks is like very and I found it so fascinating. And then I started to understand the whole thing about the third class photoreceptors and the biological clock.
Yep.
And so my solution to the problem, and I was focusing mostly on helping night shift workers, so nurses and other night shift workers, and then people who travel across time zones, and suffers from jet lag. And so the first solution to the problem was a pair of wearable filters, so a pair of glasses. We hacked some LCD screens, and so that they can become quite transparent, and then we coded them to change color throughout the day, so they could kind of like filter out the harmful light. Yeah,
it polarizes the glass, so it receives less light. Or does it actually change?
So it changed color, actually.
Fully changed color. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously LCD screens can't become completely transparent, but it was just these kind of like Frankenstein glasses with leather and but they were working. So
they were working.
Yeah, but they're not completely transparent.
You see some people sometimes with glasses that are slightly shaded. I think pilots wear them. I don't know why.
You have the photochromic glasses as well, where they become, when sunlight hits them, they become more,
they don't
sunglasses.
receive the full light. Yeah.
But this was just LCD screen, so actually you could also make a picture. It's just
an LCD screen within the actual glass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would change.
So I just coded it to change color throughout the day.
Okay. And then you were testing to see if that actually provided a more positive response or better life.
Yeah.
What would you test to determine that?
So initially you just test with the people around you, and it was just 2 weeks. But then we're really talking about how to bring it to the next level kind of thing. And what I'm really interested in is electrochromic materials. Electrochromic materials. Yeah. So actually you can make, and it's really interesting. We talked about knocking on doors here at Imperial. And I went to knock on a emeritus professor here at Imperial who used to be like a professor in electrochromic materials. And he was 89. And
he was 89? As in age?
In age, yeah. He's so old, and he was like I tried to email him, but
he was so wise.
Yeah, very wise. Yeah, but I was just so surprised, but in a good way, right? So I tried to email him, and he didn't reply. So I just went knocking on his door, and he turned around, and he was like, in his glasses, looking at me, hello, how can I help you? And and we just had 2 hours conversation about electrochromic materials, and like he told me the most fascinating facts about science, and I still make use of everything he told me today. Wow. But the other thing he as well told me is that they used to have a whole lab for electrochromic materials here at Imperial, because I wanted to make the glasses in electrochromic materials. But then he also told me that, science is so determined by capitalism and, trends in businesses and stuff. And they had so many companies actually funding the research in electrochromic materials, and some people thought that would be the standard for smartphones instead of LCD screens. And they were making huge windows for glass buildings so that you could actually filter different.
Wow.
And then suddenly, like the focus, the trend
just
shift.
died down.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've not heard much about this, to be honest.
Yeah. So now it doesn't exist anymore, that lab. And he was like, it would have been quite easy for us to go down and, make a prototype, but the lab is just not there anymore. And it's not that it's not a good technology or it's useful or anything, it's just not in fashion.
Well, this could be a rise to that, because look, a conversation like this, now we're talking about circadian rhythm, we're bringing that to light.
Yeah.
And, you're creating something which actually spreads awareness about a certain lifestyle that one person could pursue, which not many people know about. I didn't know about them for starters, that light is something I should think about. So maybe we will see an awakening. But, a lot of these things, a lot of people think that technology is what really matters. They think, if I got the best technology, then I can sell it to everybody. But then there's also hypes and interests and whether it's commercial or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's also another thing. Yeah, maybe I should explain how it changed into be a wearable sensor.
Okay. So you started off with the glasses, the LCD glasses. Then you went to a wearable.
So actually, then I applied for the LFIA program, which is the WE program now, Innovate, so Women Entrepreneur.
Okay.
So it's a female entrepreneurship program.
Is that part of the Imperial Enterprise Lab?
Yes.
Okay, and they have a program.
Yeah, at that point, the Enterprise Lab was not there. So it was I think it was here for 3 years. So I got funding from the Athena Foundation for 3 years.
Okay.
But now they had to change the name. But it was it's a really, really, really fantastic program.
Really?
And it sounds a bit funny that it's a female entrepreneurship program, but what they found is that every time they make a competition or entrepreneurship program, that is like 90% men and 10% women. So they were like, what can we do to like make more women apply,
Yeah, I think it's brilliant actually. I'm thinking you probably found it fascinating because you're originally Danish.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure...
Still is Danish.
All right, you're still Danish. I'm assuming in Denmark and Scandinavia in general, this gender split is less prominent than it is in the rest of the world. Is that fair to say? Or is it still really heavily male-dominated there as well?
I don't know, actually. I find maybe that's a different discussion, right? Because it's, I think maybe we're a bit... Do you mean equality? Or
not necessarily equality. I just mean in terms of the business. Let me give you an example.
The business.
Yeah.
No, I think it's still male-dominated, to be honest.
It's still male-dominated, okay.
Yeah, but now we have a female Premier Minister here as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For example, yesterday there was a talk by a CEO came to Imperial.
Yeah.
And I just looked around. He was a guy from cryptocurrency, the industry of cryptocurrency, a pretty big guy in the game.
Yeah.
And I can tell you it would have been 95% males.
Yeah.
It's just all guys there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a question that's worth asking. Why is that? So if anything...
it's the same in Denmark, I would say.
It's the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe there's... Yeah, I don't know. I think it's still like that in business.
There's still work to be done, essentially.
Yeah, still work to be done.
So what I'm saying is these programs, I can fully see why they are created. It's a great initiative.
Yeah.
It's just trying to encourage them.
Yeah.
And I know it's not just focusing on females. It's saying if there's a female in the team...
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so it's
the
just
passes.
females being part of the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you approached Athena, what did you approach them with?
With the idea of creating these glasses.
Okay.
So that was like my entrance tickets as well.
Right.
And I got accepted. And so basically what they give you is just a handful of, So I think it was every Wednesday we go there and we will go to the most fancy rooms at Imperial College that I didn't even know existed. Yeah, they were so pretty and like full catering and like really like it felt like such a luxurious Wednesday.
What were you doing there?
We had high profile speakers. So like one of the speakers was Edwina Dunn, who's the founder of dunnhumby.
Yep.
With her husband, they founded the Tesco Club card. And actually, they just sold their company for £2 billion, or not just, but yeah, a couple of years ago to Tesco. Yeah, so they're really successful, and like, it was just such a nice atmosphere. Like the way they talked to us was just, really on our level and not like us.
Yeah.
Really experienced. Like she was just like saying things like, remember when you bring people on board on your team, like remember to always get positive people. Get people that you think are more experienced, like talented than you in whatever they do, and like really, like you have to be like fascinated by each other and each other's skills, and she was just like some of these kind of basic things that are just so useful to know when you build a team. And then there were some networking sessions, and we also had some lectures from like people coming in from the business school. Other things we did was that we had magicians.
What?
Yeah, so we had
what are they doing?
Magicians teaching us how to pitch. So actually, magicians are probably the people who know their audience the best, because they have to make sure that they know where everyone is looking, so that they don't, if they're doing a magical trick, they have to make sure that nobody sees how they put the coin down.
The tricks.
Yeah, exactly. So they were really like talking about, when you make a presentation, you have a PowerPoint show that, when you make sure to look everyone in the eye, and maybe that investor over there is like the one who wants to invest, make sure that he's completely...
That's incredible.
Yeah. And when you look at at the PowerPoint show, people look there. So like, if you look at this hand, people look at this hand. If you look at the PowerPoint show, people look at the PowerPoint show.
Yep.
So you have to make sure that you look them in the eye when you have to tell them, the specific, the message, the key message. And, like these kind of things, like it's very important where you are looking. And I think sometimes when people are presenting, they're like looking down or looking at the PowerPoint show constantly or something like that, But they're really like, they taught us some really interesting, and actually we were not prepared or anything. So like on the day we're like, okay, now everyone come up, and then, you have 1 minute to pitch something, and it's not your project. You shouldn't pitch your project. You should
pitch anything.
1 minute, and we film you, and no preparation time. And then they filmed us, and then in front of the whole group, they showed the video, and they were like, "This, you do this wrong, you do this wrong, you do this wrong."
Just criticize you in front of everyone.
Yes, and then we had to do it again.
But the same pitch, but just delivered
better, and no preparation time, and then just up, and they filmed it and they showed it again, and it was so helpful, and it's really good learning. And then the other thing is that we went actually to the Royal College of Music again. They have a performance simulator in the top of one of the towers.
Oh, okay, I've heard about this.
Yeah, actually, Imperial Enterprise Lab copied that, and now we have a performance simulator as well at Imperial College.
Okay,
but it makes a lot of sense, because often when musicians are practicing, they're practicing in a little room like this, playing piano.
It doesn't simulate, it doesn't reflect the real experience, right?
Yeah, so maybe when they perform there in front of 40,000 people, that's a complete different, situation to 100%. Sit in. So actually, maybe you're not nervous when you sit here and play your piano, like, and you have maybe the teacher there.
Yeah, comfort zone.
Yeah,
you're wearing casual clothes.
Yeah. And so you go into the Royal College, the Royal Albert Hall, and then you have to sit there, and you like suddenly it doesn't the same thing. And what actually they do again is they film you, and then you have an audience. You can either have an audience in front of you or like a panel, and it's so funny. So we had to go in there and do our pitch, and I was like, okay, come on, that's not going to affect me. But it's a huge screen, so it's like full size.
Yep.
And then you look at the audience. You look at them, right? Because they're right in front of you. And like some of them start to look at their phone, like other people start to talk. And you get really nervous because you're just there pitching. And it's actually...
So did it feel real?
It felt,
obviously
to an extent,
it's not 100% real, but you definitely felt that slight level of lack of comfort.
Yeah, actually, when everyone is looking at you and they're like listening kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But then when they start to talk there, and like some of them looking at the phone, for some reason it hasn't affected you. You get a bit nervous and you're like, you talk quicker or whatever. So it's like you have to... Yeah, so like it's a really good experience to kind of learn to talk in front of these people. And the other one is... 3 people, a panel, and it's like typical. I just imagine like these movies, like the dance movies where they have to go to an audition and there's these 3 judges, right? And one is like a cute, like she looks cute, like a blonde lady, and the other, he looks like the man in the middle. He looks really angry, like with his glasses on here on the tip of his nose, and they, and then they're just looking at you. And at one point, they start to like look away and be a little bit like, they have different scenes. So like some of that, one point, like one is opening up her eyes and really like kind of acknowledging what you're saying. So it's such a good experience actually.
Well, I can tell you, if that simulation is real, I went through the very, very similar experience in real life. I actually went to the finals, auditioned for The Apprentice. This is years ago.
Oh, wow.
I think maybe 5-6 years ago. Okay.
Wow.
And it was a huge room. It's a long story. I'll just cut straight to the chase. It was like maybe the 5th stage in the whole thing.
Wow.
Huge room, 2 people. One of them was a girl maybe in her late 20s, and then there was a bald guy in his 40s. Okay, and they did just what you said. The bald guy was very friendly. He was nodding at everything I'd say in full support. Made me feel good about myself. And the woman, she was just
bad guy, good guy.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Just looking at me like this, just staring me down. Nothing. I couldn't get through to her. I tried everything. She was just not playing ball. So it's true, and that really puts you on edge. You need to know how to act on that. Yeah,
you need to like stick to your.
So
plan.
I'm assuming all these experiences then, as well as So you're a designer. Would you consider yourself as a designer or an engineer, or a mix of both?
I'm a mix.
Mix of both.
Inventor, designer. I don't know what
Entrepreneur.
I am. Yeah, and then the other thing is as well. First, you get assigned a mentor. So I got a mentor, and she's still my mentor. Oh. So I talked to her. She introduced me to.
What's her name?
Marianne Costigan.
Marianne Costigan.
Yeah, and she's in VC. So she has and she's really, really smart and like super well connected.
Do you recommend people to get mentors?
Yes. I mean, not for the sake of getting a mentor, but if it happens and it works out, of course, I mean, it can be everyone. It can be your best friend who's your mentor. It doesn't have to be anyone. But I mean, it helps, of course, if they have connections. And then
that's very frank. I love it. You're very honest, aren't you?
I'm a date. No. So the other thing as well is that you get business coaching from people from the business school, and I think it was a mix of talking to my mentor and the business coaching, where we're like, okay, glasses. The social acceptance thing. And
basically, you look
Glass.
weird when you're walking down the road. Let's be very honest. Particularly the way you describe them.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you could make them a bit more elegant, but
I mean, if you think even Google... Do you remember Google Glasses from years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so thin and it got ridiculed. Let alone...
Yeah, exactly. So actually, the only thing my mentor told me, she was like, go online and search on the failure of Google Glass and understand why that happened.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. She's so diplomatically trying to get you off it. She didn't want to tell you, look, this is a no-go. No, avoid the glasses. You have to find out yourself. She was like, she was trying to point you in the right direction. Maybe drop the glasses, think something similar. And that's when the shift happened.
So I think entrepreneurship is also, I think it's important that you have one vision, one mission, and then the product, you have to adjust that to the market. And actually it's funny because from a designer's perspective, I used to think that business was so not very creative, and really but actually then you realize then when you look at your idea with business glasses or from a business perspective, exactly. Then you're like, wow, this is actually very creative, because you have some, frameworks that you have to put your idea in, and you have to be thinking alternatively. And so, we adjusted the idea, and we thought a lot about, tapping into the trends of measuring and managing personal health, like the fitness trackers and these kind of,
Fitbit was a success.
40 million sold worldwide.
Wow.
That's a B2C success. Right now they bought Pebble as well. I think that's one of the
Pebble,
the most sold, the best Kickstarter campaigns ever.
It was a great advert.
Yeah,
and the name is great as well, Pebble.
Pebble, yeah. So they bought that, and so it's just very interesting how I was speaking to my mom about this as well. She was like, when just go back 50 years, and people were not really thinking about their own personal health, they were just, it's not on the priorities to think about, am I eating healthy or unhealthy? It's just more like, need to eat kind of.
Yeah, because there wasn't Coca-Cola and all these preservatives in our food and frozen food. That wasn't as prominent as today. So
I mean, so it's just also, I think we kind of, I don't know about you, but if I have a problem and I need to go to the doctor, I will always like search online, try to, search find the solution to the problem myself. I don't know if I trust the doctor solely, like
really? Okay, so then you want to do your own research before you actually hear it from
exactly. And so I think humans are like modern people are just interested in getting insights and data on their personal health, and that's why and the other aspect as well as you pointed out, the awareness aspect of this, because it's such a new focus area, like people are not fully aware of the problems in this issue. So we kind of wanted to create this wearable tracker, a bit like a fitness tracker, and then you can wear it, you can track your light, you can get information about how the light affects you in your everyday surroundings. And we kind of like stole the concept a little bit, like the 10,000 steps. So we created something similar, like a daylight goal, which is like 30 minutes of 1,500 lux every day. So every day you have to meet your daylight goal. And the same for the night, like avoid blue light 2 to 3 hours before going to sleep. So the idea is very much to like improve behavior and improve habits with the device. And just become aware as well. So like that's the first step. And
absolutely,
and so we see
the first step is to know what the problem is, understand the problem. Okay.
And so I think people quite like to, how long did I run for, like how many calories did I actually, burn, and
because it's very relevant, isn't it? It's direct data of me, how many steps you walk, your heart rate, and it's great when you see it in a graph. People love visuals, don't they? When they can see, oh, that was my day, and then they could see what they did last month and the month before that.
Exactly, so the same thing for light, right? And it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
No.
It's not, okay.
So actually, there is our closest competitors is the Philips ActiWatch, but it's a medical product. It's $1,500. Ours is $99 in retail. You can get it cheaper on Kickstarter,
which is available now. If you're listening to this fresh. By the way, I like that. Very, very great cue. So Kickstarter. Okay, you've launched, as we record this, there's 15 days to go. And I'll be good news to you, as soon as we hit record on this very episode, it was actually 300 backers. Yay! Right now it's 301.
Wow!
So by the time we have this conversation, there was one extra backer.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
On the screen I can see in front of me, you pledged a £40,000 goal. And what was that £40,000 going to achieve?
So basically it has to do with production. So manufacturing, actually, So it's quite expensive, and
it is. Tell us about the manufacturing process.
So we produced the PCBs. Are produced in China, then sent to Denmark, where we do the stencils, so like the gold and putting on the components. And the reason why we do that in Denmark is because it's quite a automated process.
In Denmark?
In general, it's just an automated process. So. It doesn't really matter where you do it. I mean, of course, it's going to be a bit more expensive, but it's not radical like when it's in man hours, So it's quite automated, and then we can also go there and check everything is okay. Okay,
so when you say PCB, that's a printed circuit board.
Exactly.
For the device.
The device,
for the wearable device.
And we mount all the components. In Denmark, and we have a light sensor, of course, an accelerometer, which is tracking activity.
So you don't just track light?
No. So so we're also tracking activity to understand the patterns, the sleep-wake cycles a bit better. And a Bluetooth module, so it's low energy. Bluetooth low energy. And that's like the main components on there. A battery, of course. And then it comes with a charger, which is a docking station for your bed.
So I'm looking at Kickstarter campaign now. And when I first opened this, I was taken aback by the design. The design is as Scandinavian as you can get. And as I was reading the text, I could see the focus on the emphasis on Scandinavian. Rightly so. You guys are the best designers ever. When I stumbled across you last week on a tech day event in London. I was just walking through,
it was so funny.
Seeing the different startups, talking to them. And then I saw LYS. was like, wait, I recognize this logo. And then I saw you there talking to people that were interested in this. Brilliant. And it's funny, there was 2 Scandinavian stands in the whole show. There was 225 companies.
Yeah.
Why was it that it was the 2 Scandinavian stands that just had the best design? And when I say best design, it's not all the bells and whistles that's loud. It's the simplicity. I don't know how you guys do it, but I'm inspired by it. You know, you've got great architects, great designers. And this is the case here. LYS, the logo is, I mean, even the wearable. You've chosen navy blue. Yeah. Any particular reason?
Yeah. Of course. No, I think... for me, I love navy blue, first of all. So it's like...
so you're biased.
Yeah, exactly. But I also think it's quite elegant. And I find that black, like everything is black. You know, all electronics are black. And we have to choose one color. Like the wisest thing when you start up is just to choose one color. Because if you... Like you think it's simple. Oh, we just make the plastic in more different colors. But actually, that can be quite a hustle. Like I was when I was doing the Kickstarter campaign, I was reading a lot about other Kickstarter campaigns and people's advice, and they're like, stick to one color first of all.
Really?
Yeah, because it can be quite a hustle. Like it can be quite, expensive, difficult, and it's not what you wanted, and you know, like all these kind of things. So
just before you continue, have you read the Lean Startup?
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, my dad gave it to me, like, read this.
Yeah, before you do anything, read this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think because what you're telling me there sounds a bit to me like it's slightly inspired.
I mean, we're super lean, you know, like within a year we have like a product on the market almost. So like,
it's phenomenal. So when did you start this exactly?
So last year this time. Around,
so October 16.
Yeah. So I think we founded the company like, how do you say, like officially?
Officially,
in November. So yeah. So actually, because it's quite interesting because I think, I don't know, I have to be careful what I say, right? But I see a lot of young startups and they make a huge team of newly graduate, and it's good. Like I sometimes feel a bit lonely because I'm like the only full-time working on this, right? And it would be good
full-time? And just advisors with you? And part-timers?
And part-timers, And then we hire consultants.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, instead of hiring... a team of 4 or something, then we just keep it to the minimum. Yep. Like basically exactly. Basically we're making some jokes like, minimal viable product, minimal viable salary, minimal viable manufacturing, minimal viable colors, like, everything is like...
minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it makes sense because you want to test out the simplest version of the product.
Exactly.
And if that gets interest, then you've justified putting in more investment.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think for us, it's like if you're just a team, if you spend all your money on hiring young people like myself, who doesn't have any experience in manufacturing, then I think it can be quite difficult. And what I see often, even here at Imperial, like it takes them 3 years before they even have the product ready, and like these kind of things. Yeah. And I think it's so much better to then spend the money on consultants and then, make sure that you get their expertise because they probably have like 30 years of experience. Yep. And the other thing as well in manufacturing, like if I go speak to a manufacturers in Taiwan, then they would be like, oh, this is a small company, the numbers are really low, like we don't know if they exist in 1 year. Why would we push, maybe their other clients are more important than me then.
Right.
Whereas if a consultancy they already have this relationship with the manufacturers and, they have a good relationship and they know they come back and, and so in that way it's so much easier for us to push things. So I'm actually doing things. When I started a company a year ago, I was working at the Enterprise Lab. No, sorry, not the Enterprise, the incubator, the Imperial incubator.
White City?
No, it's now in White City, but it was here before. Okay. A year ago, it was here, and I got really stressed actually because the people around me, they were like, I'm applying for this award, and I was like, oh, should I also apply for awards? And my chairman was like, focus on the product, like don't spend your time on applying for silly awards, like, like just focus on the product. Yeah. We need to get out on the market. And so I've been doing things quite differently from, I think, often what small startups do because, we're also lucky to get the funding to get started with the product, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it sounds to me like he had product focused.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's, I guess, to take a leaf out of of Silicon Valley, or Silicon Valley world, they always say, some people brand themselves, I'm a product guy. Say, I'm a product guy.
Yeah.
What that means is that I just focus on the product, right? And that's just it. And that's they differentiate themselves by that. Sounds to me like you had advisors that were kind of, and clearly it paid off. It seems to me, just scrolling through the Kickstarter campaign, and obviously even your website, there's a focus on what the product looks like. You compare it to a £2 coin. So a British £2 coin, it's roughly the same size. It has 2 small narrow slits with light. And what do those, is that where the photo?
Yeah, so actually that's where the photopic sensors are. So actually I think we produced the actually minimal viable product, or the prototype, in February. I don't know, January it was done, and we produced 150, and they were just like really like
150.
Yeah,
that was the MVP. So you got 150.
Yeah.
You printed the circuit boards, the PCBs.
Yeah.
Then you soldered all the
in just 3D printed plastic.
Okay.
And we just had so actually there we discovered some of the first problems, like what do you put in front of the sensor, and actually we just had a hole, and we calculated a hole from how the sensor actually sees the world, but then in reality it was just so different. Like it was actually like the plastic was covering the sensor and creating shadows, and and because we were recruiting 100 people for a test phase, and lucky enough we had an article in Wearable, and they have like 5 million viewers per month, so we got a lot of people to sign up for our test phase, and then so we had that deadline, but then I was suddenly sitting there with a product that couldn't read light in specific angles, and so I just had to print like new lids for all and it was just such a stressful period. But then we just made a big hole, and then so I realized already then, okay, the main thing I need to figure out is like, how do we make a light guide, something that can guide. And when you look at products like Philips ActiWatch or other, even like a lux meter that photographers use, they often have like either a fisheye lens, like a little dome.
So it's concave.
Yeah.
Or convex. I think it's convex. So it's dome.
Yeah.
And it captures more light.
Exactly. Okay. And then it's often like matte white, kind of like milk color. But we also track the color of light, so we can't really do that. And then the other thing, after talking to all my test users, they're like, actually they would not like to wear a fisheye lens because it looks a bit like a camera. And you have to wear this on your clothes, right?
Yeah. And people are very uncomfortable with that.
Yeah. You don't want to be somebody who's like filming constantly.
That's brilliant. So that explains why it looks like it is today. Yeah.
So we wanted to. So actually, our patent that we have, the patent application that we filed, is also has to do with how we actually track light. So it has to be in the same way as the eyes, but the design also has to be quite minimalistic. And we kind of took the Y from the logo and created. So it's the Y, and it's also a bit like. It's maybe a bit cheesy, but it's also a bit like the hands in a clock. So like the biological clock kind of thing. I don't know.
I wouldn't say cheesy. It's kind of creative. Okay, so essentially a Y consists of almost 2 lines. Yeah. And one of them is not connected to the other.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah, exactly. So that's how we created the light guide. And it's actually fun. Yeah, so we had a specific light guide designer as well, helping us to create the... just tiny angles, like 0.5 millimeters angles, and the surfaces, and like all these like has an impact on how the sensor is actually reading the light. Yeah.
Well, look, the thing is, the reason why this is a useful conversation is because it just shows that in theory is one thing, but practice is something else completely, right? Yeah. But you had to create a prototype to begin with, make those mistakes, and then improve, so on and so forth.
I think we've been through 5 prototypes now. 5. Yeah, so it's been really... I mean, every time you discover a small thing, like there's problems with everything, like the tiniest thing, like the resistors are not good enough, like wrong, like this combination doesn't work, it doesn't click, like there's just problems with everything. So this process has been very iterative. And,
that's just the nature of how products get better. So tell me about Kickstarter and crowdfunding in general. Yeah, because I had a friend of mine who actually tried to do a Kickstarter campaign, I think this time last year, if not maybe 2 years ago, for a device that was a bike light and an alarm at the same time. And what I learned from him was there's a lot more than meets the eye with these campaigns.
Yeah.
So much work goes into it,
Yeah.
and not a lot of them succeed.
Yeah.
Now, I was looking at the statistics of Kickstarters. Yours is in the minority now. Congratulations, because you've actually raised the money. And if anything, you've exceeded your target.
Yeah.
Now, how much work did you put into the campaign prior to publishing it live?
Yeah, so that's actually probably the most important part, the prior to the campaign. But it's an interesting one. Like, actually, I think I wasn't very fond of Kickstarter and crowdfunding. And I was a bit like...
Why?
I think when I was in IDE, I was like, oh, is this already kind of passé? Is it already a bit...
cliched, and everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
Or...
I think 5 years ago, it would have been so cool to make a Kickstarter when it just came out, and it was just like new and interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
But now it's just such a, like, it's so easy to drown in all the products and all the projects. And the other thing as well is that, and you can, if you go online and you search on like people's opinions, I think also like what you see is like, it's become so much more e-commerce. Just in 2014, it was so different as well. Like people could, because the dream is so beautiful, right? Like people who do not have money to start a company, they launch a Kickstarter. They made like everyone can make a video and a prototype and launch it on Kickstarter, and then they see like, do people want to support this? And also because for products like hardware, it's really difficult, for example, because
you need so much upfront investment,
exactly,
initial capital.
Yeah. So it's a good way to get money to get started.
Yep.
But that just doesn't happen today, No. Like it's impossible to do that. And I think it's because it's become more e-commerce, like that's partly because of the platform, but also because what the backers expect. So they expect to get it like a bit like Amazon. They expect
instant,
to get it like really instant, really quickly. And the other thing as well is that like all these agencies that creates Facebook ads and all of that, it's become really expensive.
Tell us about those, because that's one of the things that I think most people don't know. There's agencies that just focus purely on crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah. So you
and
buy
they have also different pricing models, don't they?
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Some, if they like your idea so much, we will do it for free.
Really?
But
didn't happen to
they will
me.
do it for free, but we will take 20% of what you make.
Yeah, exactly.
That's if you can convince them.
So that's what happens.
Some take an upfront. It's a mixture. So did you use an agency or?
Yeah, we did actually. We did. So in the beginning, so actually, there's two things. So the pre-campaign is really important.
Pre-campaign.
Yeah, and what? So Blocks is a company out of Imperial as well, really cool. They made $1.7 million on their Kickstarter campaign.
Really?
And I spoke to them, and they were like, what did you do? We had 35,000 people on our mailing list before starting Kickstarter, starting our Kickstarter, and I had 500 people. So when I heard that, I was like, I was like, what?
That didn't fill you with confidence, did it?
Yeah, exactly. And I've never thought about that. The mailing list was so important. But now I see. Okay, of course, because I hate newsletters and these kind of things. Like personally,
do you throw them to junk?
Yeah,
are you always unsubscribing? Like just unsubscribe.
Because it's a stress factor for me. Like if I want news, I just go on their website, and then I can choose to see it when I want to.
So I take it you also use an ad blocker.
Yeah, exactly.
There's all these just barrage of advertisements.
It's stressful, right? And so actually, so I was really surprised that but it makes sense, right? Because you get to write to your potential buyers directly in the inbox. Like then suddenly they get something from you. So it's a way to reach potential customers.
Yeah, it is.
And it's on their in their private inbox. So it's
true. It feels personal.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. I think it's like build up a mailing list, and it's something I completely failed to do.
Okay.
So I was okay. Like I'm okay. Like this is kind of, I knew this would not be $1 million Kickstarter just solely because my mailing list was not big enough.
So you based it on the mailing list?
Yeah.
Oh.
So actually, Kickstarter is really nice. Like just because they came to IDE as well, again, animation design engineering, and we had some tutorials with them, they would just like contact us when you want to, launch. And they have a person here in London who helped me and like just for free.
Fantastic.
Like it's really good. Like they choose a couple of projects where they consult them, and it was really, really good. So I was lucky in that sense. And she gave me feedback on the campaign and good advice. And she was like, when your mailing list is so low, like you just have to know, like that's a direct indicator of how well you would do. And so for us, again, it's just a minimal viable Kickstarter, right? So this is kind of the first
MVK.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's lucky that we reached our goal so quickly.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah,
I think it was 20. And how many days did you reach?
Was it a week or 10 days or something? I don't know. I can't remember. I think it was a week or something like that.
What I remember seeing was, I don't know how long is it 40 days? Does it start off with 60?
35.
35 starts off with.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, it was 26 days to go, and you already met your target. So it'll be just over
7
a week
days
or a
or
week.
something, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And that was just from the mailing list.
So that was, you have, of course, you have to like contact everyone companies. We kind of had those companies where you can buy 100 or 25. So we tried to contact some of our the potential collaboration, like the companies that we potentially want to collaborate with, and be like, do you want to buy this for Christmas presents? These kind of things. So it's a lot of work, and you kind of have to like, throw your pride in the bin and be like, hi everyone.
Sales, that's what sales is.
Yeah,
you gotta leave your ego behind.
It's really funny because I used to be very shy, and I think people are like, what happened to this girl? Like suddenly she's
now
like,
she's talking into a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. I used to be like the person in high school that I was so scared of just raising my hands to say something, because I was so shy. And now like I just did the speech for 14,000 people here at Imperial.
14?
14, yeah.
Wow.
So that was, 1,400, sorry.
1,400, okay.
1,400. I was like, why? That sounds
still
really
quite
like
a bit.
a lot. Yeah, 1,400, yeah. So the new students, and, suddenly you just get used to it. And I think that's partly because of IDE as well, and, all the pitching, like pitch training, like something that you can learn even though you're like a shy person.
Exactly, that's what I point out. So you're saying it's an attainable skill.
Yes, definitely.
So even if there's somebody shy listening, extremely shy and introverted, that can change.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, so definitely.
How did it change? Just with the experience?
Yeah,
right?
I think also like maybe the other thing as well is that when you're in high school, you kind of have to learn. I felt like there would always be people who knew the subject better than me, so I was scared of not being perfect. And when I had to say something, I was like, what if I missed something? What if I missed a crucial aspect of this? But whereas when you're a designer, you know this project better than no one else, and like you're the one creating the product. So when you present it, you would ultimately always be the one who knows the product the best and the project. And so that kind of gave me this confidence that you might have
not had before.
Yeah, so, if people have questions, I would know because I'm the one
to go to. Yeah, you're the creator of the product. Yeah.
So it's not like some theory that a person wrote like 100 years ago. It's me. It's like my words, my thoughts, my reflections.
Your product.
Yeah.
Your creation.
Yeah, exactly. So that I think that gave some confidence, and then of course practice. So like in IDE, you probably present every week, I think, really, in front of 50 people. So like you just start to like, at the end, it just becomes very
It's
normal.
just practice. Yeah. I mean, what I've seen with you, Christina, these are experiences that are transferable and that can be inspiring to others.
I hope so.
The two things. So that we talked about knocking on doors. This is before the podcast where it wasn't recorded.
Yes,
but we just part of it is just knocking on doors. People around you, people that are not within your immediate network.
Yes.
Asking for advice, asking for help. Just try and say hello. Just reach out.
And people are so nice. Like you get surprised. Yeah. Like everyone wants to help you. It's so nice. Yeah. Like everyone is like, yeah, sure. Like even the most busiest people, like you can get a meeting with them if they, like if you show passion and you show, even I get so embarrassed. Like my mentor, she introduced me to somebody from City Group, and in the last year about this time, and then I had to go there, and I was just asking my boyfriend, do you think I can wear sneakers? And he's like, no, I think you should wear like proper...
formal.
Yeah, formal.
Yeah. Don't go all Silicon Valley on them.
Yeah, exactly. And then you come out there and like everything is made of marble, and it's just like everyone wearing their blue suit, red tie, like,
wow.
and then
Was that meeting related to this?
Yeah, so that I was showing my first prototype before even the minimal viable product, something I sold it myself. And it's so embarrassing thinking back, but it's just, she took the time and she saw how, I newly graduated, and now, she took the time, she took me seriously. Like, even now I'm like, oh, I should have, if I had what I had today, I could probably have. But people are just so friendly, and they want to help you. Like, if you show passion, if you show energy, and then I think everyone kind of wants to help. And if they don't want to help, then they're probably not for you.
And I would also say that they're in the minority, and if they don't want to help, plenty more fish in the sea. Plenty of nice people that will give you their time.
I don't really have these people saying no, I don't want to spend half an hour talking to you. I don't have these people.
So what would you advise somebody that wants to raise money for something? Okay, now I've actually got multiple questions.
Okay.
How did you come to the number of £40,000 specifically?
So, it depends. Like, in the beginning, we wanted to put it higher. So I think it's a mix, to be totally honest with you. People put... I was looking
than what they expect. Okay, it's great. So that's a strategy. See, because we're learning here,
I was looking at similar campaigns, what they put, and it seems like most campaigns in technology, they put around 40,000, 50. Yeah,
roughly.
I thought, okay, that's kind of like what people do, so it would look normal, and it would look like what people do, and then it will be enough for us. If we make that money, then we haven't lost anything on doing the campaign. So, it costs money to make a video. It costs money to, hire graphic designers.
Particularly the graphic designers you're hiring.
Yeah.
Because this is great.
Thank you.
And then the color as well. You've chosen... I really want to know what the name of the color is. It's almost like nude.
Yeah, nude color.
Yeah, nude color with the navy blue.
Yeah. So that's the mix. Yeah, in the
and I wonder who picked those colors.
Yeah, it was a mix. Like, I think actually it was the one graphic designer that I worked with, because we were looking at the colors of nature. So the white, blue, and then the orange. But it's just not very aesthetic when you put it up. Yeah. And so, exactly. So, so then I knew I wanted the dark blue color, so we were like, okay, how can we create something like dark blue and then warm, which is a bit nude, which is quite a nice color as well. Yeah. So it's just like working with the colors, trying different things.
Actually, based on me talking to you, you told me earlier there's a white light, blue light, and then there's the dim warm lights. Yeah. Well, those are the two colors in the app.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Okay, so that's how you came to your £40,000 target. You basically looked at it. It was an industry average. It was roughly the right number based on your mailing list is what you looked at.
And it's quite fascinating, actually, because, what I always hear from my chairman, he's like, everyone who makes a product, they should put aside, a budget for the product, and then the same budget they should put aside for marketing, because it's, and that's what people forget to think about. They're like, oh, we just spent all the money on developing the product, and then they have a product, but then nobody is seeing it. Yeah. So marketing is super expensive, and you have a budget for that. And the cool thing about Kickstarter is that, actually you're making money while you're doing marketing. So
two birds, one stone.
Yeah, in that sense, that was like some of the aspects that went into to the whole, developing the goal. And so.
And with regards to the team, how did you gather the team? Was it just a mixture of knocking doors, network? Or does it come from the RCA, the program?
So Hugo is from Imperial College as well. He's on the business side, but he has a job on the side as well. Jorge is from IDE, so he was in my group project while he was there, and he's just a maniac to do CAD
3D
drawing.
magician.
Yeah, exactly. And Shira, she then got on board, and she's also from the RCA. So she's doing critical writing in art and design, and she's also the owner of her own magazine called Screenshot Magazine.
Screenshots
magazine, yeah. And she's really cool. So she's probably the one that I work the most with doing because there's one thing that you don't think about when you start a company is like all the written content. There's so much
copy. There's people that just specialize in copywriting.
Yeah, you just need like emails, pitch packs, presentations.
So
campaigns,
much
much text, and it's just when you're a designer. I mean, it's fine, but she's so much better at that than I am, so it's really good to have her. And Gabrielle, she's actually, so again, actually, Shira, I think, so I was looking for a person like her, like a person who can control.
What's the full name?
Stuart Jesmian.
Jesmian, okay.
And first I actually wrote to the London School of Economics, and I was like, because I wanted her to kind of do written content and social media, and it was funny how the people who applied, they're very much like, dear sir, madame, like very formal. And I was like, hello, it's just a small startup,
I'm not a big shot.
I know you think, but I know that feeling as well when I was applying for jobs.
Right.
How do you actually approach people? Do you have to be formal? But it just felt
when you say you approached LSE, London School of Economics,
so
who did you send it to? Did you approach an individual?
So actually, they have what is it called, like a careers platform sort of thing, and then the people who control that, you write to them, and you as a company you can make a profile, and then you can post like jobs, and
Imperial has one called Simplicity. They use Simplicity. Things similar. It's like a job board specifically for the university.
Exactly. Okay. And then I think there's some people checking that the jobs are okay, and like they're asking you to put like how much they would make and these kind of things. But then I had a few interviews, and it felt like, I don't know. It was not the people I was looking for, at least. I don't know if it has something to do with the school, or if it's just a coincidence. But it was very like very not very lively, and it didn't feel like they had passion in it. It just felt like they had to make some money on the side, and I don't think in a startup that doesn't really work. And so I was thinking, okay, actually I just need somebody. So then I saw this course at RCA, which was creative writing in art and design, and I thought maybe that could be interesting. And then I wrote to the head of program, and he sent out an email that I sent him, and then she was one of the people who replied, and it was very much like, hey, it sounds super cool, I have interest in this and that, and like this is one of the, I've written this, and this is my magazine, like, and you went online and you're like, wow, she has her own magazine. You're like, it's a complete different experience than the people like, dear sir, madame, this is my, I've been working in investment banking, and you're like, why are you applying for this job? It's like, and
that's so interesting.
Yeah. So and then I was like, wow, I just need this person on board, and it's been so good. I
think what you're pointing at there is culture. And I've realized this, just from the very few episodes I've had of the business podcast so far, the people that succeed in creating companies, they succeed in surrounding themselves with the right people.
Yeah, probably,
And, and there needs to be a cultural fit in there as well. So the people that you initially had, dear sir, madame, I'm very keen on joining your company as a copywriter. And
I think I'm the perfect for the position, as I have experience in being, I was like, what are you talking about?
And that's just not the culture, isn't it? You'd want somebody that kind of speaks like you, in a sense.
Who understands a startup, understands, the dynamics of this. It's not, I don't need somebody who's been working for Goldman Sachs for 3 years, it's like, of course, like if, but you know what I mean. And then basically, I also feel like I have to go through a couple of people. I think the team is really difficult, actually. Like even when I was at Althea, I really wanted to find a co-founder, because I thought, that could be quite nice to not be alone around this. I think then maybe later I realized that it's quite beneficial to just be one person, because it's so much easier. Maybe
you can dictate tasks, I guess, a little bit more.
And I can take decisions, like it's so much easier for me to take decisions. And that's maybe also one of the reasons why it went so fast. Like I could do a product so fast because I don't have to ask. I mean, of course you can divide tasks and like power, but like, but what was I saying? So it was really difficult to find a co-founder. I found, and I was speaking to the Althea team, and they're like, "Don't worry about it. Don't find a co-founder for the sake of finding a co-founder. Like that makes no sense. Only if it's the same for mentor. It's like if it happens,
if there is a need,
and if it happens, if you find somebody that you click with, and you understand it, and then it works out.
Wow. Okay. And so. And then what about with regards to splitting all the possible pledges? So you got the early one. My favorite of them all. My favorite of them all. Let me just find it here.
Yeah.
It was the very first loose.
Yeah, somebody bought that.
That's brilliant. And it was
350.
£349.
Oh, 49,
Number one, the very first loose, spelled LYS, super early delivery in November.
Yeah.
And that's gone. There's one of one.
Why?
Because it's exclusive.
Yeah.
That's it. Because that guy or girl, whoever it was that bought it, is probably going to keep it. Might not even use it. Just package it.
Yeah.
And when loose is all over
Maybe
the world.
they do that with all. Somebody said that to me, and I think it was Shearer who came up with that idea, and I was like, "Oh, that's silly."
Oh,
and then
really? You think it was silly initially?
No, I don't know. I just thought, like, why would they want that? You know, you always think like,
yeah, it's the first ever loose.
So it was really cool that actually that was quite cool.
It is, and you've also got what seems to me group purchasing.
Yeah.
So you've got stuff in there where you can purchase 25 loose wearables for 1,500, and some of these are gone. Who are those designed for?
Those are designed for businesses in basic. Yeah. So like, or people who, mainly businesses. We thought like maybe that could be quite a nice Christmas present.
Yeah.
For people working in an office, smaller office or something like that. So we actually approached businesses and asking like, do you want to buy this? Like, no, it's a good
What
price.
has the response been like? I mean, have people actually been
some people are interested, some people are obviously not interested, and some people already sorted it out, or some people have companies sorting Christmas presents out, and so it's the mix.
No, what I meant, not just in terms of the Christmas present aspect, but just more in the sense that you approach them and say, look, this is a great solution that could benefit the well-being and health of your employees.
Yeah.
You're going to think, you know what, I'll check that out. What is it? Small £2 sized coin-looking device, very simple, detects the light that comes in, gives you feedback on your phone. Yeah. It's going to be an iOS and Android in the future if you hit the target, which I hope you will.
I hope so.
And it can give feedback to your employees.
And potentially, improve their performance, their energy levels, these kind of things. And I think who's not interested in that?
Absolutely.
So I think actually we're going to focus much more on B2B rather than B2C in the future. And Kickstarter is not kind of the only active thing that we're doing in the step towards B2C. And I think in general that was a really good way to test, because B2B also, it takes longer time, so it's good to get the cash flow running and get started.
What takes longer, B2B?
Sorry?
You said
B2B, because there's regulations within the company, and like these processes are just longer than somebody buying, one online. But then potentially there's a lot of more products can be sold in that way as well.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be our focus from now on. And I think there's different routes. So like, of course, it could be like health and well-being benefits.
Health and well-being, okay.
Like some companies, they give discounts on a membership, gym membership, or Fitbit or something like that. It could be for loose as well. Yeah. And the other thing is, we hope to like contact HR. We're doing interviews and to understand like what they do already and what they would like to, do. And the other thing is to kind of collaborate with companies. So we want to create the integrated system with lighting.
Okay.
And we have companies who do circadian rhythm lighting contacting us because they have kind of these training programs where they train employees to understand how light affects them and their health.
Great idea.
But LYS can do that, it's such an easy thing, and then it can create a demand for their lighting solutions.
Right, okay. And I like this synergy.
Yeah. And then at the end as well, it can actually document what effect it has on the employees as well. And what we want to do is kind of create like pilot projects, like just a small area, and see how we can change the artificial light. And it's interesting because I was speaking to this guy who sells plans for offices, office plans.
Office plans, okay.
And he was like, the first thing we do is we analyze the lighting and the light in the office, because some plants, they can't survive in really dim light. And it's interesting how you think more about the light, the landscape, and then the humans are just sitting there working. You don't even think about how it affects them. So
it's an awareness thing. Yeah, this is sort of a recent thing now.
And you put your plants through the window because it's like, you want it to grow.
What about the human? What about the 30 human beings you've got in the room?
Exactly.
You care about the plants.
So
wow, that's interesting. So just before we finish here, what are the future products for LYS? Is it just going to be the wearable?
No, definitely not.
You're going to give us a sneak peek into the future products.
Yeah. I mean, it's of course I can't talk about everything, but we want to create this integrated system.
Okay.
And I think what's really interesting is definitely the data we collect. And for research, and
Absolutely.
science, and also because we are still in part of this. Yeah, this new wave and new motion, like new community of like circadian rhythm, and like,
it's new.
and we
I
hope
agree.
to fit into that with our data.
Yeah.
And we want to potentially integrate it into glasses, so many ideas.
And it might even get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Of course, yeah. The battery is actually the biggest problem, right? Because it takes so much space. So.
Which will be solved soon, trust me.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, feedback. So the app gives you feedback.
Yes.
What feedback does it give you? Briefly.
So, we start with a minimal viable feedback, of course.
Love this. It's MVP throughout the episode.
Exactly.
Okay.
I have read the Lean Startup.
No, I know. I'm sure of it. Maybe 10 times.
Yeah. First of all, it's just notifications.
Okay.
Actually, in the app, we ask people to type in their chronotype. So if they're early or morning person, morning or evening person.
Yep.
And age and gender. So actually, what they find as well is that females needs more light than men.
That's interesting.
So we don't know. So actually, we are more disposed for getting winter depression as well than men, and age as well. So you need more light when you get older, and I think it's also because of the aging. And it's interesting as well with chronotypes because actually it changes. So when you are around up to 10, I think you have quite an early chronotype, so you wake up quite early.
Yeah.
And then teenagers, they get a really late chronotype. So that's often why you think they're really lazy, because actually when you ask them to get up at 7, it's 5 for them, something like that. So and then when you get older again, you get quite a early chronotype. So it's through a lifetime, it also changes. Yeah. And then we hope to give them advice custom made to them and their needs.
Yeah.
And of course, it's kind of like a feedback loop. So like the data we get, we can get to know them better and we can create better advice. But it's
a
small
work in progress. I feel like it's iterative. Yeah, you start with simple feedback.
Yeah, and it's like the iPhone, right? Like completely.
I mean, it's iPhone X now.
Yeah, exactly.
10, God knows how many versions there are.
Yeah.
Well, Christina, it was wonderful speaking to you.
You too.
I'm very excited to see how far LYS will progress, LYS Technologies as a whole.
Thank you.
And if you're listening to this, you can learn more about LYS, LYS Technologies.co.uk is your main website.
Yes.
You've actually got a great Instagram page as well.
Oh,
very
thank
artistic.
you.
Who's managing that, by the way? That's
Sure.
I'm just going to casually follow it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Christina, best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
You.
This has been the Business Podcast at Imperial College London. I'm your host, Amin Siala, and in order to get in touch, you can email me at amin@businesspodcast.co. The podcast is on iTunes, SoundCloud, and obviously on YouTube. If you want to get in touch, you're more than welcome. Thanks a lot for listening and tune in for the next episode. Bye-bye.